Jake Chapman, Magic Radio voice, with me here discussing the exciting night ahead. Magic Hawks, night one of the NBA play-in, and hopefully the only night of the play-in for the Orlando Magic. I can't wait for this one, Jake. This time of year to me feels like this is like the bonus on the paycheck for trudging through 82 regular season games, which at times is an absolute joy, but like anything else, there is a grind aspect to it where you're like, another game? Really? Tonight is not like that. I cannot wait to get to the arena.
No, for sure. The NBA season is unique. Obviously, it's similar in timeline to a hockey season, but it's just a different sport. And there are highs, there are lows, but you're right, it's a trudge, especially mid-January when you're playing Washington for the third time in 2 weeks or what, So we get it. And this has been a unique season for the Magic. Obviously, if you want to talk about highs and lows, I mean, you start out on such a heater. Paulo, the 50-point game, he goes down. Franz starts ascending, and you start out 10-0 at home. It feels like nobody can beat us in that building. That goes away. You start to get healthy, and you're still not making shots, and the offense still looks really bad. And so there was some. I mean, I remember looking at you in some of those post-game shows, going, "This might not get better." Like you and I had some rising levels of dread as far as the future of the franchise went at times. Which is why it's important to remember it's an 82 game season. There are going to be highs and lows, but we're in such a good place when you look, especially when you look around. It was Black Monday yesterday, right? You got coaches and GMs getting fired everywhere. Bottom line is we have two young stars, and those guys play. As long as they have clearance from Arnie, those two guys are going to be out there. They're absolute dogs. They're competitors, and they're two very special young players. Paulo obviously has been stealing the headlines the last couple of weeks, but you can't forget what Franz did early in the season to even help you get to this point. And the way he's been sort of sliding in the last couple of weeks. So long answer and a long way to say it's been a long year, but here we are, and your goals are still in front of you. Win today, and then we'll see what happens against Boston.
Well, a long answer is welcome because I've throughout the course of the night, I'm probably going to end up asking you about 20 more questions throughout the variety of radio that you and I do together. So no sweat there. Two guys that are very well rested coming into this game are Paulo and Franz, and that is another one of the reasons why not only am I excited about tonight, I'm very confident about this game tonight. I don't want to enter into overconfidence because then it is hard to make it through that post-game show when you start locking up a win before you tip it up. But a rested Paulo and a rested Franz sitting back and watching their guys go at it for a couple of games. And you can kind of feel it. Like they are chomping at the bit to get out there and play in this game. And they're going to be fresh and ready to go against the team they match up well against.
Absolutely. I think they do match up well against them. I was looking at the box scores and the game flows from the two wins against Atlanta this year. And like, we know what Atlanta's personality as a team is, right? They're scoot. They want Trae Young. He's going to pull from 30. He's going to have 12 assists. They want to get up and down. They want to score 140 points. And you and I have talked all season long about how we tend to fare well against teams who want to play like that. We've actually beaten them kind of at their own game. That was that February win where you, and I had the numbers in front of me just a moment ago, where you end up knocking down, you made 26 of 38 at the free throw line. You had 58 paint points. Paulo and Franz shot 27 free throws themselves. And they scored 61 points combined. You were 26-14 out on the break. Second game, the one last Tuesday, was like flip the script. We allowed 5 fast break points, turned them over 18 times, shot 50% from the field. So I think there are two different ways to go about this. The game in February, you sort of beat them at their own game, 26-18 on the break. That is very different than a 5-5 fast break points total at the end of the game. I think we want to be a lot closer to playing the possession game, slowing things down, and being a lot more deliberate about it. But I think with Paulo and Franz, what you have is kind of the ability to do both, as long as they are either getting out on the break and getting buckets and not necessarily fast break points, but early offense points before Atlanta gets its defense set. I think we have an advantage there. And if not, if it does become a slowdown, sort of grinded out game, then getting to the rack, getting to the free throw line, and doing things like that, I think are important. So I think those two guys are poised to be able to win whatever style you play. The thing that's scary is, the best player on the floor, probably the guy with more All-Star appearances, certainly the guy with more play-in game appearances, is on the other side. And so, Trae Young thrives in moments like this, and in situations like this. He's done it his entire career. He's done it going back to college. He can be a one-man band if he needs to be. So that guy does scare you a little bit.
He has a lot of experience in this. He thrives in these sort of situations. I haven't looked at everybody else's history in the play-in, but the Hawks might be the most frequent visitors to this mini tournament. They've been there 3 times. The Hawks are 3-1 in play-in games. So the reason why there's 4 total games and 3 appearances is because they had to play their way up from the 9-10 at one point. But 3-1. I'm going to ask you about this again in the pregame, so feel free to come up with 2 completely different answers. So we have Jeff Turner tonight as well, so maybe I'll pitch this one to him. But does that matter? Do you think it matters that there's play-in experience on the other side?
I'm not sure. I think New Orleans has played in 5 play-in games. I looked at this stuff last night. New Orleans has played in 5 play-in games. New Orleans, the Lakers, and Atlanta are tied for the most wins in the format. 3 wins for those.
The Lakers. I'm surprised the Lakers have been there that often.
Isn't that it? You go back to 21-22, and I guess post Vogel. I think Darvin Ham was making
interesting. One of the other teams that's been there a lot. This will pop up as a storyline later in the night. Golden State is 0-3 in the play-in tournament. They have never won a play-in game.
I feel like we should just put in the Eastern Conference. It should just be Chicago, Atlanta, and Miami get auto bids to the play-in every year. Just it feels like it's them and a 4th team every season. I don't think it matters too much. I mean, here's what I will say. I think the experience against Cavaliers last year is going to pay dividends for us. I think if this were a year removed and it's 82 games behind you, but we don't have any postseason experience, for anybody on our team not named Gary or whatever, then I think that would scare me a little bit. I think, because I was just looking at games 1 and 2 last year against the Cavs, we scored 83 and 86 points, which, it doesn't seem too far off what we've seen this year, but we were just shell-shocked, and that was everybody's takeaway from those 2 games. We showed later on in that series that we could hang with that team, then to be sure, but it didn't look like it for the first 2 games. So I think having that experience under our belt certainly makes a difference. I think Trae Young, if you had to say who has delivered most in these type situations, not just play-in, playoff situations, do or die situations, certainly it's Trae, but it's going to be unique. It also doesn't scare me as much as a 9-10 lose and go home type of game would, right? You play 82 games in 6 months, and then it's, oh man, we missed a couple free throws tonight and the season's over. So you do have that reprieve in your back pocket. Hopefully you won't have to use it.
Yeah, because if you do, you're going to be playing a Bulls team that got a win that's hot and would only be hotter after winning another basketball game, or the Heat and Eric Spoelstra's mess that he's going to, the web you have to step into going up against him in a play-in. And then I don't know what their overall record is. We'll cross that bridge if we have to get to it in the play-in, but I know that they've gone deep. If anything, I'll give the Heat credit for this. They have saved the play-in tournament, or at least helped to create the lore that is around it. I don't think I'm alone, or we are alone as NBA fans. Even if the Magic weren't involved in this, I would be locked in tonight as a fan because I love the play-in tournament. The Heat have made this thing credible.
Yeah, with the run to the finals, obviously, as a play-in team. I don't know. Yeah, I think I get mixed reviews from people. I have some casual fans say I still don't get it and still need explanations. Like, I don't think it's become part of the NBA zeitgeist yet or whatever. I'm not even sure if
I'm concerned if you still need a full explanation about the play-in tournament.
I think some people just forgot that it's been going on for the last couple of years, and if their teams aren't in it, like it was my dad. Like my dad watches Cavs year in and year out, and they played a couple of years ago, but he was like, "What is this? Explain this to me again." He's a little bit older, obviously, but he's a pretty knowledgeable sports fan. So I'll not to throw my dad
your dad's
out
a smart guy. What are we doing? What are we doing, Pop?
He was just like, "How long have they been doing this?" And I was like, a couple of years. The Cavs started a few years ago. He's like. Yeah, now he's over the age of 70, but that was sort of lost on him. So I see it both ways. I think it certainly is a win. I think keeping more teams engaged late is important, and it was legitimized, I think, by the Heat's run to the finals a few years ago. Now I will say this: I didn't realize this until the other day. No 7 seed has never advanced, and no 10 seed has ever advanced. So if you're a 7 seed, you're going to find your way in more than likely, and there's first time for everything. And certainly, I don't know how long those numbers will last. We're only going back to 2021, but it is kind of interesting that a 10 seed has never snatched one of the 7 or the 8.
Yeah, I mean, those are usually teams that feel like they would be lottery bound, like Sacramento, like those kind of teams, Dallas. I don't know how surprising that is. Talk about
the Western Conference and how deep it is, and I'm looking at Sacramento and Dallas going, oh, okay. Yeah, super right. Deep. And then I'm looking at Phoenix going, they couldn't sneak in over those guys? Holy cow.
Well, they got their own issues. By the way, I was going back to talk about play-in history. This is a COVID creation. As many unfortunate time in our world history, but there were a lot of creative things that popped up from 2020. This was one of them. But it wasn't this format. It was if the 8 and 9 seeds in either conference were within 4 games of each other, then they would play each other. So the Magic have actually almost been a part of the play-in before, but because they had so much separation on, I think it was Washington at the time, they didn't end up playing the game. Because remember, what an odd way to set that up.
It was the bubble, and so it was all of a sudden they were like, okay. We want to resume the season, but we don't want to make everybody come down there. So what was it? I think it was 22 teams. They're like any of the bottom feeders didn't even come. It was just like, all right, and then we'll play a handful of games, and then we'll do the playoffs. So yeah, we were up enough, but then the Western Conference, if I recall, they did play that 9-8 play-in game.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I only looked at the East, but. That sounds right. Well, we know that we got one tonight that will tip up starting at 7:30, pregame at 7. But really, if you're listening to us now, we're just on all night long. So hang with us. Jake Chapman, Magic Radio voice, will be on the call all the way throughout, along with our color analyst tonight, Jeff Turner. Thanks so much, Jake. We'll see you soon.
You got it.